This is a guide for installing a Navik that you can purchase on eBay to add a backup camera and a video source for a 2011 Honda Accord Coupe with the navigation, the EXL package. They don't come with the option to have factory installed backup cameras, but you can buy this for $199 and be able to add it yourself. Um, right now, I'm actually laid in the back of the trunk. Looking up at the trunk lid, you can see there's the center mounted subwoofer. Next to it is the Honda DVD player. It actually works in line with the Honda DVD player. You have to access the back of it, and you see this. There's a gray data port here. You unplug it. You don't have to remove it. I thought at first I was going to need to remove these two screws on this side and the identical two on the other, but you don't actually have to remove those. So once you're inverted and in the trunk, you can plug these in. It creates an adapter, and you can see I've coiled my wires inside the loom so they're hidden, and it goes to a standard VGA adapter, which is on this side of the Navik. The Navik also has a few other wires that come out. It has a red and black combination wire and a blue and white combination wire. The red and black goes to a switch that switches between using video 1 and video 2, which video 2 is the default for the backup source, so it automatically looks to video 2. And it knows to look at video 2 because the blue wire coming off the main power side of the Navik requires that you tap into the backup sensor, the reverse light in your tail light. So I tapped into it, tapped into the back passenger, and then the ground. I ran the ground all the way from the back passenger light too. Came around, ran those wires up, connected the power supply over here. This is a standard plug. Plug it right in. It has a red and a black for your 12-volt supply, which is not a constant. It needs to be switched with your power supply, and your black goes to that common ground that I used off of this white wire. So I tied those together up here in the loom. I did that right over here, and you can kind of see where my connections are back in here. Next, I'll show you where I mounted the camera. To access the back of the tail light, you see I'm here. I'm on the passenger side of the car. What I did is I accessed, obviously, the light coming out of the clear one here for the backup. You have to remove a couple pins. You remove this screw type pin, this screw type pin. Both of them gave me a little bit of issues, being that they didn't want to actually screw back out. So I had to take a little flathead screwdriver and pop them back out. And pull the trunk liner if you have it, and you'll find one more of these push pins down here in the bottom. As you can see, it may not be enough light. There it is, that push pin. This whole area will then be able to slide back. You can access your wires and tap into them. To get to the area to install the camera, you have to first remove this little center bezel. You just grab a hold of it, and it will pop right out. And then you removed a few pins similar in the inner parts of the trunk here that go around and pop this whole center section out. So you'll pop this piece of plastic all the way across to this piece. This will all remove and give you access to the inner part of your rear bumper. We mounted the camera right back here next to the license plate. What I did was I bought a little bracket for making mending any kind of broken board. I picked this up for a couple dollars there at the hardware store. It's just a steel bracket, and I screwed those into the bumper, ran the camera connected out of the other two. I bought a little aluminum piece of aluminum set screw and nut so that we could be able to tighten it down, and use some adhesive between the camera and the bracket to make sure it stayed good and tight. Okay, so here we are inside the 2011 Honda Accord Coupe. got the navigation screen. What I did is I ran my power supply from right here, from the fuse panel that's underneath the driver's footwell. You have some options on how you can do this. My first attempt was I just laid back underneath and tried to get my hands up in there, and you could do that, but to the fuse that I chose to get to, I actually had to remove this panel, which goes all the way underneath and connects to the other side. And so I'll show you kind of the basics how to do that. It's, if you take your hand down to the bottom piece, you can pop. You'll pop all the way around. The whole unit will pop free. Now you want to be really careful here. There are two arms, which you can see right down here. Those two, they have a little hook on the end that keeps them in place, so you want to make sure you don't snap those off. And of course, if you have your traction control, and if you have the lights that are the footwell lights, they are wired in here, so you want to make sure not to break those connections. Luckily, there's a little bit of wiggle room, and so you don't actually have to pull them if you choose not to. Up underneath here is the fuse panel, and we'll get some light, and I will show you that in just a second. Okay, you can see the fuse panel up inside there. I'm going to take the camera and turn it upside down and try to talk you guys through it, and hopefully we'll be able to see it. This area right up here is the main fuse panel. What I did is I connected it to fuse 10, which is the VBSOL fuse. It is a 10 amp fuse, so I used a little wire tap. I'm going to add a fuse by Bussman. You can purchase it in any hardware store. I bought mine on eBay. It uses the mini fuse, so you want the ATM instead of the ATC, I believe, fuse. And that will allow you to be able to tap into the fuse and still keep whatever accessory is 12 volt connected. It took a while to find one that wasn't constant, because most of these fuses are 12 volt constant. Tap that in, and we ran the wire. I brought it all the way along here, and I didn't have to remove any of these panels. I was just able to like move the carpet, tuck it back all the way in, came all the way around here, back up underneath the rear driver's seat, and through the panel and up through the other side. Alright, the last step is to make sure that it's going to work. Like I said, it's the install is not a difficult install. If you're fairly 12 volt savvy, if you've ever hooked up an amp or a CD player in a car, you can manage this. It just takes a little bit of creativity and thinking the route for your wire before you actually run it, so that you don't end up having to cut wires that you've spliced into, because I did that once. But I'll show you how it works. Everything on the car still looks the same. When you start it up, you'll still see the Honda navigation system. It'll sit there and load just like it always does. As soon as you kick it into reverse, it automatically looks for the rear view sensor. I've got a little bit of back glare, but you can kind of see there is the truck and the house behind me. So, and there are these distance markers, and the distance markers are a part of the camera. They're not a part of the Navik system. So, if you want them, buy a camera with the backup with the distance markers, and if you choose not to, then buy one without. Ours came from eBay, and we've been pretty happy with it. Hope this helps. Okay, this is the wiring diagram that I quickly put together in Photoshop. Hopefully you guys will find some use for this. You can give you a little rough diagram, kind of a layout of the way it actually is set up, and if you guys have questions, be sure to comment, and I'll try to send you this if you want to have it as your own. One last thing as a troubleshooting tip, if your screen, your navigation screen, ever comes up and it has a slight color change, as in the tint is a little bit off. The first day we had that hooked up, the Navik hooked up, I thought that I might have ruined the entire system. It happened that that VGA connection, which is on the Navik, was just a little bit loose, and so I just tightened it down just a bit, and the true colors came back. So if you guys find that, that's a little helpful tip.